Good morning, everyone. Well, we're about to do another entrant update and a weather briefing for the next week, and also talk about currents, the Gullis current and a few other things. But before we do, there's still people that are asking me questions about the website. This is the opening page of the website, and you can see up there's live. It's all pretty simple to me, and you can get all sorts of things. But before we go into this, I'm just going to point out a couple of things. As soon as you scroll down here, you've got all the latest news and thoughts. Press releases go down as news, thoughts are just my comments and so on. Interesting reaction in the last couple of days. I posted this one here. If you haven't read it, you might like it. It's giving a ranking on my opinion on the status of the boat and the skipper going into the Southern Ocean. Nothing to do about speed and so on, but all about how they're looking to cope with what's happening with the GGR, so you can hit on that. And the other one is, well, there's your latest news. That's nothing. If you're following Facebook, then you're getting it all anyway. You've got SoundCloud, you've got our tweets there, of all the skippers. The SoundCloud is a lot of fun. And then coming down here further, rankings again, bits and pieces, but this is the best one. Oh, you've got skippers there. A lot of people think this is like a poster. It's not. It's actually our video section at the bottom. You've got a whole run of videos and pics and so on. You can download the 2018 Notice a Race, and very soon you'll be able to download the 2022 if you're thinking of entering. But I'm going to let this run. There's a really cool little video clip here. So if you hit that twice, you'll get to this. Many haven't seen it, so have a look at this. Sometimes we tend to think of what we're looking at as being, I'll just go back to live now, looking at being little boxes on a map, you know what I mean, where you forget that there's actually real people out there and they're all doing their own little grand adventure. They're obviously interested in the fleet, but they're all intensely involved with achieving something quite special. So it's more than just a dot on the screen. And here up the top here we've got Francesco. He's actually moving again quite well. He's on the hunt to get down close to Antoine here. So we spoke on the phone yesterday, he's quite excited, and he still feels as if he's part of the race. You know, in his own way, he is doing his personal thing, but he's you know, on the hunt for the GGR fleet to try and catch up. So we're going to do a few things this morning. Going to go through obviously each boat, talk about what they're doing and aspects of the weather, and then also I'll talk about the Gullis Current, which is going to be facing all the entrants when they go around the corner. Some people don't know what that is. It's an area of very extreme currents down here, and talking about the exclusion zone, which we're about to officially announce is lifting it a bit higher, and the reasons behind that. So, so the first thing I'll do, remembering these boxes here are latitude and longitude boxes, and from top to bottom is 10 degrees. Here's the equator up here. Francesco's not over the top yet. So every 10 degrees represents 600 miles. So that's a scale size. So I'll pop it up again one more size. So that's 600 miles from there to there, gives you an idea of what's going on. And then again now, you all know, we're going to lose Antoine in a minute. I'll come up here and hit the little wind sock from an airport, hit windy TY, and we've now got the weather. So Antoine hit on the box there, and it's saying very clearly 4 knots, heading pretty much due south, and he's got a really consistent breeze. This is the wind direction, and that strength is probably about 20 knots. On the phone, Antoine was talking about last week having sea state from 3 different directions, getting bounced around a lot, bruises all over, you know, sort of a bit of hard work, hard to sleep, all that sort of stuff. But it's probably a lot better than what's going to happen in the next month or so. So there we go. And I mentioned poor old Mark Slat's back there. I said 2 days ago he was history. He's just going to sit tight for 2 days, and he has been. But he's 2 days up. He's getting out of jail now, and he's moving here now. It's showing 3.2 knots, and you'll see what evolves with the weather in the next few days. But at least he's got a breeze. He's sailing. He's currently heading east, but he'll actually start heading down a bit once this breeze catches up with him a bit more. It's Istvan's turn now. He's got this big hole here. It's just sort of forming. It was over Mark for 2 days. Now it's, you know, generally coming into this sort of you know, sort of a stretched weather pattern. Winds going this way on the top and coming up, but you'll see what happens you know, in a minute when I go to the 2 days ahead. So yeah, Istvan's not going anywhere in a hurry for the next probably day. He'll have 24 hours there. But all the rest of the fleet are looking okay, except for little old Igor here. He's still okay, but he's on the edge of this hole, and he's going to suffer a little bit there. Also, Tapio, who's very happy. He's finally looks like he might have solved some of the issues with both his hot water generator and his solar panels. He's sounding very chirpy on the messages. We just got another one in a few hours ago. And yeah, he's all smiles. He's charging his batteries and he's charging the boat's batteries. So, and he's sailing about 3.8 knots, but he'll start to pick up shortly. We've got Loic back here catching up with the group, which is fantastic. So doing 5.9 knots, heading out to the east. So he's feeling quite good. Tommy down the bottom here, 4.6 knots. I'm surprised at that because there's a pretty solid wind flow here. I thought he would be sailing a lot higher there. Maybe something's happened during the night. Maybe he's had to slow down for a while to fix something or whatever. And we've just got a bit of a distraction here. Jane just turned on Facebook the other side. So anyway. Yeah, so I'm surprised about that, but he's still moving solidly and all the rest of it. So you can see there's a lot more wind at the moment. This is real-time wind, more or less. These positions were 4 o'clock UTC, so that's 6 o'clock France time, and it's now 9 o'clock, so it's about 3 hours ago. These positions, there'll be another one coming up in another hour or so. But so anyway, so yeah, plenty of wind down here. Gregor been making great time in the last couple of days. He's very happy. He was happy on the phone, and he's making 7 knots there at the moment. Blast reaching with the wind on the beam. He's got a plan. He's figuring he's heading to the east as fast as he can. Interestingly, if you look at this is R, he's heading south, deep south as quick as he can, and I think he knows because there's a big high pressure system in here and he wants to get the right side of it. You'll see what happens in a minute. So I think he's working on that plan. He doesn't care about easting right now. It's very obvious he's dipping south as quick as he can. Susie's coming across the back, sailing conservatively again, always consistent, and that's a great game plan. She's doing really well. Sailing 7 knots as well, blast reaching, so she's doing 0.1 of a knot faster than Gregor. but you know, again, it's not about individual boat speed on the particular day. It's about being consistent for Susie, and she's doing great. Same with Gregor. You know, everyone's doing okay. Uku's made big grounds. He hooked onto this wind flow when Tapio and Igor just missed it. So the last couple of days, he's been able to make great ground and pull away from them. So that's fun. Poor old Mark Slats here. The game plan of going down the west side of the course didn't really work out well for him. He's had to travel a lot more miles than the middle fleet, and he's got them all breathing down his neck. And this may develop even further now because, as you know, he's forgotten his gloves. The temperature's going to get colder. He's working on piston hanks, raising lower sails all the time. The other guys are all working on furling gears. So for me, when as the organiser and looking back 3 years, when I see this fleet now, I'm really happy on a couple of levels. The first one is that we chose the design of the boats with a couple of different principles. Some of that was to do with the safety of the boats, make sure they're strong and solid, all that sort of stuff. But one of them was to try and keep the speed of the boats roughly about the same. And here we are, after nearly 50 days, heading down through the Atlantic, when that's where you get the most variables with weather and this, that, and the other. But generally, the fleet is all there. These guys are having a great race. If you look at from there to there, 600 miles, so half of one of those boxes, 300 miles, all of these guys here are within sort of striking distance. If you now say this is the course where they're going, they're all within striking distance. They're going to go into the Southern Ocean having a great race. And for safety reasons, they're pretty much bunched together. Istvan, as you know, had troubles, earlier on stopping and wind vane issues, but he's now underway. Mark Sinclair has been sailing conservatively, so he's slowed down a little bit on the rest of the fleet. And he's also lucked out on the weather a few times. But generally, even if you look at the leaders, they're only now, sort of 3 days or so. Mark's only 3 days or so behind the leaders. These guys 3 or 4 days. If these guys were to stop, they'd probably catch them in 4 or 5 days. So I'm happy. The fleet's there. They're having a fun ride. They're the boat, this whole boat thing, which we'll talk about maybe in the question and answer session, because a few people have been asking about that. It is definitely a factor of 3 things. The issues of creating boat speed. One is obviously the sailor, that's very important. Secondly, is the preparation of the boat and the choice of equipment and so on. That's sort of set them apart. And the final one is the preparation. How well they prepared their boats. But yeah, as an organiser, I'm very happy with the way this looks. So the other surprise for today is Philippe. Bearing in mind he's got no self-steering gear at all. And he's got a shortened tiller. He may have upped the ante on that a bit over the last few days, I'm not sure. He's currently making 6.7 knots. Jean-Luc, at the moment, is making 4.4 knots. He's got less wind, obviously, but if you look back over the last couple of days, Philippe is going for it. I'm not sure whether he's in a hurry to get to Cape Town or whether he just doesn't want to lose touch with Jean-Luc, but he's sailing extremely well for no wind vane and a short tiller. I'm not sure how much sleep he's getting, but he's going for it, and the breeze is certainly helping him. This is great sailing, like wind on the port quarter. That's broad reaching. That's the best way to keep the boat moving fast, and that's what they're heading. Cape Town's over here. You can just see it in the corner. So that's the objective for Philippe, and make some repairs and hit the road again. And Jean-Luc will be deciding what he wants to do going around Cape Town. Going under the Cape here, and I'll explain a bit of that later on. So if we now do a couple of things, I'll remember here the weather is for the 16th of August, that's today. We're on 1, I'll bounce it up to 2. We've lost Mark back there, but we'll come back to that. I'll see what this scale looks like here. That's not too bad. And then we'll start pushing the weather. Okay, so let's go 1 day ahead. We'll go, where were we? That's 7 o'clock UTC, so we'll go 7 o'clock a day ahead. Oh, it's near enough, it's 9 o'clock. Here's what's happening. Everything's settling down a bit and you're getting a southerly airflow that's going to swing around to the southeast. So all of a sudden, these guys are coming on the nose. You'll see the winds now coming this way. You'll see them slow down, but at least they've all got wind. They'll have to make tactical decisions very shortly. Same with Philippe. It's gone from port quarter wind. It's now coming forward of the starboard beam. So they'll probably hold that course for a while and wait for the wind to shift again. Gregor, who's been blasting along, he's going to have a lot less wind, so you'll see him slow up a bit. He's doing 6.9 at the moment with the previous wind, like today's wind, but this is lightening off dramatically and it's going to be on the beam, so you'll see him slow down a lot. Wig is rushing down into a hole. There's a lot less wind here than up there, but it's still tactically a good idea when you look at what's coming tomorrow. And Mark Slats, he'll do all right. He'll probably stay on starboard tack and just level out a bit, keep it on the beam. He's got nice wind up here, so he'll keep moving well. Susie, if she keeps going that way, she's got a good breeze still, so everything's looking okay. If we come back here to Mark Sinclair, if he gets down, his next problem is he's got headwinds. So he's not going to go very far in a hurry, and Istvan is still going to be drifting tomorrow. So he's got at least another day, and we'll now push the weather forward another day. We'll go through till the 20th now, 9 o'clock in the morning on the 20th. Bingo, least. Istvan's got winds, but it ain't helping him much because it's all headwinds. They'll probably come down on port tack and head down sort of southeast again, working that, but it's going to be bumpy ride because this wind's picking up and the same with Mark Sinclair. He's going to have to decide what they do. The rest of the fleet, remembering this is now 2 days out, look at this big hole. Whoop, whoop, whoop. You're going to see some changes. Now, if Uku keeps going the same way, he's going to make some gains. He'll hold his breeze. As long as he heads roughly that same day, 2 days from now, he'll be probably around about here somewhere, so he'll still have his breeze, keep going. If Gregor, it'll depend on how it plays out. He's getting reasonable weather reports. If he dips down a bit, if he starts heading south, he will actually get a kick up the rear and he'll keep going. Not sure about Mark. Again, these guys are all going to be in a light wind area. So what's happening to Jean-Luc and Philippe? Pretty reasonable, but lighter, gentler conditions, and it'll, they're going to definitely slow down a bit. Excuse me. So that's on the 20th. That's 2 days out. We'll go one more in an organised way. We'll go to the 21st. That's midday on the 21st. Now, again, let's go back to the back here, and I'm not forgetting Antoine. We better go up here and see what's going to happen to Antoine. He should have consistent. He's got trade winds. It's going to be bang, 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 and that's happening all the way for the next few days. He needs to start thinking about coming across to the southeast, though. Whether he does or not, I'm not sure. Overall, what I would say with Antoine, I've been watching him, obviously every day. For the weather that I'm seeing in terms of how Antoine's sailing, he's sailing very conservatively. There's no, I've got to say that he's doing the best he can. He's still got a slight issue with his foot maybe, but he's not pushing hard. He's looking after the boat, looking after systems, and sailing very conservatively back there, which is a good way to go. So this is now, remembering 21st, so it's 3 days ahead. Uku's got no way out. He's going to fall into a hole. He's not going to be over here by then. These guys are on the other side of this high. This is a high pressure, sort of squashed high pressure system, and they're on the other side, so they'll be into this wind flow here, which is taking them exactly where they want to go. Now I'm going to decrease the size of the scale here so you can get a perspective and see where this breeze is coming from. Here it is here. Big winds. Some might not realise what this orange box is here. That's the exclusion zone, by the way. It's currently set at 44 degrees south. So the fleet generally at the moment thinks they've got to come down through here under Cape Town and away you go. And this is very traditional weather for now, having this flow here. So that that's the 21st of August, so 3 days time. These guys here, including Philippe could be down into this. Jean-Luc will certainly be down. He'll be looking at coming down now. He's not going to Cape Town, he's going underneath. So they should be right. So that's a bit of a quick look. Now I'm going to go back to the bigger scale and show you the big picture, and we'll just shoot ahead. It's 22nd, 23rd, and you'll see there's some serious winds down here, but the fleet should be riding this across. This is a good thing, and it comes down to who's caught in the middle of this versus who's underneath it. And it looks like Mark and Nuku and Susie and Gregor and Abelish are going to be right. And I reckon Jean-Luc will be down here. Let's see what Philippe does. He's going to Cape Town, obviously. He might still be running along the edge of the light stuff. These guys possibly going to get locked out. They're going to be trapped. They'll be sitting in the hole in a few days' time. So going forward a big distance, that's 27th. Let's go to a week ahead. Now in a week, okay, bear in mind there's 600 miles. A week they'll do about 1,000 miles. If you look from there to there, this fleet here will be down around here in a week. So they'll be getting really cold blast southwesterly winds to get themselves under the Cape. Now Jean-Luc, who's here, a week from now, he's going to be possibly about here. And the relevance to this is the Agulhas current, which I'll come into. If you listen to Jean-Luc's phone call earlier this week, we had a bit of a discussion about what we're going to do with this exclusion zone here. Because the overall issue is the fleet has moved really fast south, and I've discussed this before, so just quickly, that means they're at least 2 weeks or more ahead of schedule where I thought they would be. They've sailed about a month faster than Suhaili, so there's still, these are late winter gales coming through here, and usually, the big action is down south. The further north you are, the safer it is. But and so we have actually made the decision. It's yet to be a formal statement and document to raise this exclusion zone to 40. It's currently 44 degrees. We're going to pull it up here to 42 degrees. So it'll raise a little bit, which means our boats will be staying up around 40 and so on as they go across. So what's this Agulhas current thing? So if you hit this one and go down, remembering you've got wind, you've got temperature, pressure, clouds, currents. Oh, look at that. Let's hit currents and see what pops up. Now I'll pull you can see the currents work on a scale again. If I pull this down, this is the scale of the currents. So it goes on colour again. Now I'll just, to make this a bit easier, I'm just going to push this up to, that's a good way, you can see that. You can see the currents there very easily, and here's the colour gradient. So when I hit the currents, these are actually current streams. This is called the Agulhas current. It's very defined, right? This is going around in a circle here. That one's trying to form a circle, but it doesn't, it's broken away. This one's forming a circle, and they're quite solid currents here. This is the speed scale for the currents, but it's incredibly conservative, more so than wind. So if I go to a dark red, it's saying it's got 1.2 knot current. The purple is 1.6 knot current. The blue is a 2 knot current. So and when you go to whites, it's 2.4, 2.8, 3. So if you're a grey area like there, they're talking 3 knot current. Now I can tell you a story. When I sailed out of Cape Town in the BOC in 1990, the game plan was to head south as quick as you could to get into the westerly airflow and come around the corner and then start heading to Australia. We knew that the Agulhas current was there. Everyone does. This kills ships. Ships break in half here because if you get the wind against tide, the swells and the currents pick up, and it's just horrific. And we all knew that. And so we sailed down here and we had pretty good weather, and I turned left and I was sailing with Philippe Jonteau, was a little bit up front from me, back in those days. And I had a GPS. It was one of the very first ones. It was a military one. I wasn't supposed to have. Long story for later. And I was doing like 5 knots, 6 knots in this average weather. And all of a sudden it went down to like 1 knot and it stopped working. And I thought, oh, bugger, I've lost my GPS. And I started, what the hell's going on? I couldn't work it out. And I started to talk to Philippe on the radio, and Philippe Jonteau, and he was saying, yep, he's getting 5 knot, 6 knot currents, and it was the luck of the draw. We didn't have this information, and you just keep sailing along, and if you get into the wrong way, all of a sudden we just stopped, and it was incredibly confusing. It went for about a day. Oh well, we were only in the currents for like about 8 hours, and then I pulled out, and then you get other bits and so on. So this is going to be very interesting, because if you look at that current and then you hit wind over the top, right? See, you've got big winds coming this way. This is in a week's time. go back to the currents. Now the wind's coming this way, right? So you got wind coming this way at like, 40 knots, 50 knots. You got current coming this way, and they're saying at 3 knots, but it could be 5 knots or more. This can get very dangerous. So most of the entrants will know about this. Certainly Jean-Luc is very aware of it. We didn't speak much about the Agulhas current in all our briefings and so on, but they're all pretty aware. And so, yeah, you need a bit of space here. Now, it'll be interesting to see what happens, but bear in mind, if you get a situation in an entrance that, I've got horrific seas here, what's going on, da-da-da, and you look at the wind and say, oh, what the heck, this is only from the southwesties, should be fine. This is a wild card. You can get anything through here. And generally, I would say the next lot, not to do with currents, but you can see this is the 40th parallel here. This current stream goes all the way along. Fortunately, it's all going generally this way. There's a bit of an eddy here going up and over. And current going with you in the wind is a good thing. It actually can calm situations down. This is the 40th parallel. This is where we want to go. But as a highlight, if I go back to wind now, I just want to point out something that a lot of people don't realise. This all looks pretty benign. I think I'll just go to the bigger scale, back to 1, so you can get a perspective. There's Cape Town there, and too many boxes. Here's Perth in Australia. Here's Cape Town. So that's the full distance across the Southern Ocean. I'll say one thing to wrap this up. This area here, right, is more treacherous, more demanding, and more scary and challenging than anywhere on their entire voyage around the world. It's more crazy than Cape Horn. This is where this can make and break a skipper. Okay, it's not Cape Horn. Cape Horn's obviously deserves a lot of respect, but you watch what happens. This is the most challenging part of the entire Golden Globe race. And the good news for me as an organiser, those boats that leave and sail underneath Cape Town, in my opinion, are well prepared. They're in good condition. The sailors know what they're doing, and that's as good as it gets. So we've done everything for risk mitigation, and we'll all keep our fingers crossed and look forward to an amazing adventure. That's about it, I think. So we'll look forward to seeing you in about 3 hours or so, and I'll go through a whole bunch of question and answers. Look at that, a classic high pressure system going around in a clockwise shape with our fleet sitting there, and this is for 26th of August in about 1 week. Okay, thanks for that. Now